In progress.
All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Here we are at Stress Management 101. Let's see here. I'm going to put speaker view. How do I do this? Okay. Speaker. And there we go. Okay. All right. Welcome. Stress Management 101. Yes, we all have a bit of stress these days. Far too much for too many of us. So I'm your host today, Ruben Guzman, and otherwise known as Coach Ruben, and I am delighted to be sharing this powerful and most important topic with you today. So it turns out that about 86% of all physician visits are related to stress. Stress, yes. And I can relate. So when I was in medical school at UC Davis, many, many moons ago, and I was studying for my cardiopathophysiciology exam and studying the effects of hypertension on the heart. And since medical students had to study every single weekend because we had a 10-week quarter and we had tests every single Monday. Every single Monday. So all weekend long, we were studying. So here it was Sunday morning at about 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm in my lazy boy chair and I decide to check my blood pressure. And it was 170 over 110. Not good. So I said to myself, blood pressure 170 over 110, and I'm just sitting down in a relaxed chair. This is not good news. So then I decided to check my blood pressure again. So I checked my blood pressure again. And lo and behold, it was 170 over 110 again. Took some deep breaths, try to relax, gave it another 5-7 minutes or so. And I checked my blood pressure a third time. And it was 170 over 110 again. Now, that's not a good indication for somebody who is a mere 25 years old in medical school. Not good. So I started looking at the research about the implications of hypertension. And then I came across an interesting book by Dr. Robert S. Elliott, MD. And the book was entitled, "It's Not Worth Dying For." Well, that's a grabber now, isn't it? It's not worth dying for. So I started reading this book and I started to realize that I was, as Dr. Elliott had portrayed in this book, I didn't have any noticeable risk factors for heart disease. I was in shape. I was able to run up and down a basketball court. And normally during the day, my blood pressure was fine. Everything was good. My resting pulse was low, is in the mid to upper 50s. I was great. Except what I read from his book about the implications of stress and causing a heart attack, as he had experienced in his mid-50s. So that led me down a path to start to study the connections between stress and health. So today, what I want to share with you is what I've learned, some of the most important things. There's a lot. Today is just Stress Management 101. There's so much to stress. I could probably do about 3 seminars on stress. So we're just going to cover one today. The most important and critical factors is what we're going to cover today. I'm so glad that you're here. to join me. And the chat window is open. If you want to send anything there, that's fine. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with everything, but I'll try my best. And then let's see here. So let me go ahead and I'm going to switch over here to my PowerPoint presentation. So then I can begin to show you my slides. Let's see here. Give me a moment here. Okay, share screen. We're going to go from here and share. Okay, so this should be working. Okay, get that moved over. All right, very good. Okay, so stress management 101. Of course, the perfect cure for stress is to be financially independent and living on Fiji. But I can't do that for you. So I'll do my best. So a little bit about me. My name are Ruben J. Guzman. MPH does not stand for the speed that I drive my car. So it stands for Masters in Public Health, and LMP stands for Lifestyle Medicine Professional. So my education and training, I did my undergraduate training at beautiful California Lutheran University in Thousand Oaks in Southern California. Fabulous education. I loved it. It was amazing. I was one of those people who worked their way through college and paid for every penny. And so when I got done with my bachelor's in biological sciences pre-med, I needed to work and study for the medical college admissions test. So I worked in the hospital for a couple of years. I was a pathologist assistant, learned a lot of things, and I tell stories in my other seminars, but I'm not going to share that today. But then I went off to medical school at UC Davis School of Medicine. And after the first year, I was a little disillusioned about studying so much about pharmaceutical drugs and pathology, and there wasn't really enough emphasis, in my opinion, on how to be actually able to be healthy and how to prevent disease. And so my advisor and I talked about this, and he encouraged me to step into the MD PhD program to do research. And that's what I did. I stepped into that. I started looking at preliminary research on the connection between lifestyle and longevity. And then my findings were very interesting that I shared with my advisor. And he said, Ruben, you're onto something, but quite frankly, we don't have the resources here for you. You may want to consider going into the School of Public Health and see where that leads you. You always have the option to come back and finish your MD. I said, sounds good to me. So off I went to UCLA. I had to be a Bruin. So I went off to UCLA. I loved my training there. It was amazing, amazing. I specialized in behavioral sciences and health promotion. And when I finished my master's, I realized I was passionate about promoting health and preventing disease. And I was no longer interested in treating disease. So then I chose. I made a bold decision to not go back to medical school to finish my MD, but instead to pursue studying lifestyle medicine. But there was nothing called lifestyle medicine back then. It didn't exist. I was ahead of my time. This was 1988 when I finished my master's in public health. And so I went into healthcare consulting, healthcare administration and hospital administration, did that for over a dozen years. And all along, I continued my own independent study and research on lifestyle medicine, wrote a book in 2011. And then in 2016, I went to a conference on nutrition and healthcare down in Southern California in Anaheim. And at that conference, there was a presentation from Dr. Leonov from up here in Sacramento. And she talked about a new specialty of the American Medical Association, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And I had never heard of this. I was flabbergasted. It was amazing. I loved hearing about this. And it was totally resonating for me because lifestyle medicine is the use of evidence-based lifestyle therapeutic intervention, including a whole food, plant predominant eating pattern, regular physical activity, restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connection. as a primary modality, let's do this first. Delivered by clinicians trained and certified in this specialty to prevent, treat, and often reverse chronic disease. Doesn't that sound more appealing? Absolutely. Absolutely. So lifestyle medicine incorporates all of these areas and more. So when it comes to being able to prevent, reverse, and treat chronic disease, we talk about in lifestyle medicine being able to empower people to improve the spokes and align up the spokes of their wheel of life. And that's what we're out to do. That's what we're out to do. In fact, Dr. Wayne Dysinger, one of the founders of lifestyle medicine, said this, that lifestyle medicine is the foundation of healthcare today. It really is. And because 80% of healthcare is chronic disease, we spend so much money on chronic disease, especially after the age of 60. And 80% of chronic disease is lifestyle, 20% from genetics, 80% from lifestyle. In lifestyle medicine, we say genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if the disease is caused by lifestyle, the foundation ought to be a lifestyle treatment. And doesn't that make sense? I think so. And I was so excited when I went to my first lifestyle medicine conference in 2017 and they announced board certification. So I studied for an entire year because there's board certification for physicians, MDs and DOs, but also very exciting, a board certification for professionals, PhDs, and those with a master's in a health-related field. Yes, that's me. So I jumped in, studied for an entire year, and in October 2018 became one of the earliest board certified lifestyle medicine professionals in the world. My certificate says 00081. So it's very exciting. I am also a member of the Institute of Coaching out of Harvard and McLean Hospital, and many of us in lifestyle medicine are, because this whole Institute of Coaching is really about comprehensive coaching, including lifestyle. If you Google my name, you will find that, yes, I did write these 3 books in the world of swimming. I wrote the first comprehensive drill book in the sport of swimming, and it got updated twice. It's now the best-selling swimming drill book in the entire world. It sold 552 copies. So, and it's been translated to 5 other languages. And so I'm very excited about that. In the world of health, I wrote this book in 2011, Evolving Health, endorsed by my friend, Dr. Neil Barnard. And this is the mock-up of the cover of my upcoming book to be released later this year, How to Fully Live, a transformational approach to creating a thriving, healthy, happy life. And so I'm really excited about that. And it's going to be very comprehensive, using everything that I've learned about in lifestyle medicine as well. And I am so proud to be a part of lifestyle medicine because I get to live into this quote that Thomas Edison said well over 100 years ago, that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will instruct his patient in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Now we're here to do this. We're here to actually execute on this. We are the doctors of the future in lifestyle medicine. So exciting, so very exciting. Now, as a full disclosure, and all of us in lifestyle medicine practice doing this, I want you to know I have absolutely 0 conflicts of interest, none whatsoever. I have no products to sell you, no powders to sell you, no product, nothing. I am an educator. I'm a teacher. I train and teach people. That's what I do. I'm an educator. The word doctor means teacher. That's what I do. And I specialize in professional speaking, executive coaching, and healthy lifestyle coaching. So that's what I do. Now, back to the story. I believe that Virgil was correct when well over 2,000 years ago, he said that the greatest wealth that any of us can have truly is our health. Because as Aristotle said, a man who has his health, a man or a woman who has their health, has 1,000 wishes. A man or a woman who does not have their health has but only one wish. The predicament that we get into and what causes us a lot of stress, especially in this Western world that we live in, is that so many of us focus on money as opposed to health. We prioritize money. In fact, I love this quote from the Dalai Lama when he was asked about what surprised him most about humanity, is that man sacrifices his health in order to make money. And then he sacrifices money to recuperate or try to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die and then dies having never really lived. Rather sobering. How do we get into this predicament? Well, the problem is this. We have beliefs that other things are more important than our health. We do that. We get into that process. We displace ourselves. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to get healthy food. I don't have time. So we displace our health. And so we get caught up into believing that money and other things are more important. In psychology, we define beliefs as thoughts trusted to be true. They're trusted to be true, but they're not the truth. They're strongly held opinions, and we've all got them. So beliefs are not the truth, but the problem is that we hold on to our beliefs as if they are. We become very attached to them. Now, beliefs change over time. They just do. It's very interesting because, a mere, I would say, 1,000 years ago, if you were living in Europe and if you said that the earth was spherical, you could be put to death. Because back then, people believed that the earth was flat. And believe it or not, there are some people who still believe that the earth is flat. But we have completely dispelled this myth. This belief is not true. So it's very interesting. Consider, my friends, that we're all conditioned to believe what we believe. Every single one of us. We're all conditioned to believe what we believe. I'll prove it to you. All right. So see if you can complete this jingle. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. And if you said, oh, what a relief it is, you're conditioned. That's the ad from Alka-Seltzer, and it hasn't played in over 45 years. Oh my. So it's been a long time. So all of us are conditioned. Now, those of you who are younger, here's a couple more. See if you can complete this. Nationwide, and you already know, is on our side. And then here's another one. Like a good neighbor. And you know what the rest is. State Farm is there. So we're all conditioned. The advertisers and marketing specialists, they know how to do this. It's amazing. So I want to show you some actual ads. Actual ads from over 100 years ago. 100 years ago, these ads were really considered to be the truth. All right, on the far upper left, Nicotimes cigarettes, the smooth taste expectant mothers crave. Wow. Upper right, no flies on me thanks to DDT. Lower left, the first product from the Bayer Company for headaches. Take your heroin hydrochloride. Yes, it was legal, and yes, it worked. And then lower right, let this magic mineral asbestos protect the buildings of your farm. Now we can't get rid of it fast enough. So should we always trust the marketing, my friends? Good question, right? Consider that we have all every single one of us, we have all been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and deceived. Every single one of us. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to question your beliefs. This is critical when it comes to being able to reduce your stress. Absolutely critical is to be able to question your beliefs. And as one of my favorite teachers of all time said, and I always try to heed his words, you must unlearn what you want to learn. Hopefully you got the message from Yoda. So here's the framework of what we're going to cover today. Lots of important things. First, we're going to begin with the context, the framework for how health and performance works in any area of our lives. I'm going to also share with you some statistics. It's part of my research that I've done for many years. And then I'm going to share with you the causes and effects of stress. Very important to really look at. And then we're going to split stress up into three major categories. And what I'm going to help you to do is to understand each of those three categories and specific strategies that can actually help you, that empower you, and you can start doing them right away. So I'm going to give some of the things that you can start with right now today. And then we'll finish up by discussing how you can make the rest of your life the best of your life. So get ready. We're going to dive in. Now, just to let you know, you're going to get all the slides from today. I'm going to send that to each and every one of you. You're going to get a follow-up email with a link to the slides. You're going to get a link to the recording of this webinar. You're also going to get lots and lots and lots of resources. So I'm going to send you links to articles, research, recipes, all kinds of things. I'm going to send you lots of things to really look at to help you with this. And lots of information about what I can do, any of my services that you may be interested in. So I got lots of information to sell you, but you don't have to worry about taking copious notes. So let's dive in. First thing we're going to talk about is the context, the frame. Now, this is so critical. It's so important. It's the foundation for understanding how we can actually address the stress that we have in our lives and how we can manage it more effectively. So it starts with this quote from my dear professor, Dr. Kolitsky at California Lutheran University, who was an absolutely brilliant professor. He taught biochemistry, histology, comparative anatomy and physiology. He was my research advisor. He was absolutely amazing. One day in a comparative anatomy and physiology class, he said this in class. He said, remember that all of life is in one of two states at any given moment. Either it is surviving or it is thriving, and that's all there is. And he said it like that, which kind of caught me by surprise. And I raised my hand and I said, Dr. Kolitsky, are you saying it's just one or the other? And he said, Ruben, that's precisely what I just said. And you know, I'm a little mule-headed and stubborn at times. So anyway, I raised my hand again. I said, Dr. Kolitsky, I'm thinking there's got to be a bell-shaped curve distribution to this or some kind of a spectrum. And I just finished taking statistics, right? So he said, no, it's one or the other, Ruben. And so I raised my hand again. I said, Dr. Kolitsky, I'm still not getting it. And he looked at me like he sometimes did, kind of quizzically. He said, Ruben, just sit with it. You'll figure it out. Oh, anyway, I sat with it for 3 years. 3 years, and then I'm in my first year of medical school at UC Davis, and taking a class in embryology, which is the study of the embryonic period of human development. So from the moment of conception to the point where everything is there, and it just has to get bigger. So that's pretty much the first trimester. So I was in that section of that class, and it was really interesting because early on in our development, we all look like this. This is a ball of cells. And the cells are indistinguishable from the others, okay? So you can't tell them apart. The ball of cells gets bigger and bigger. So this is called a blastomere, a blasto meaning ball. And so it gets bigger and bigger, and eventually it gets to a point where it starts to fold inward on itself, and it forms a tube of cells. So this tube of cells will become the first organ system of the human body to become distinguishable and operational. Now, I was a little surprised because I didn't understand how our human body actually evolves, but I was really surprised to find out that this tube is what's known as the neural tube. The neural tube is what gives rise to the central features of the brain, which we call the limbic brain. The limbic brain includes the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, the pituitary, all those central features of the brain, not the outer cortex. Okay, so the inner part. And that whole part is connected via the brainstem to the entire spinal cord. The professor said, this is the electrical system of the body, which made sense to me. But how he explained it was really great because he said, we need this electrical system to become operational first so that we can actually make sure everything is functioning and operating correctly. So it's the electrical system, the neural system in our whole body. We're an electrical system, by the way, in case you didn't know, your nervous system is electrical. It is. It actually has electricity in it. And it's very, very low level, but it works that way. So he explained it that once this system is turned on, it's on for the rest of your life. It's the first system on, and it's the last system off. Okay. And then what he said next really got my attention. He said, now, just like any basic electrical system, it's got two currents. You got a positive current and a negative current. So in the human body, the positive current of the electrical system, the central nervous system, is what we refer to as the parasympathetic branch of the central nervous system. When it is on, it's going to affect every organ system in the body and every cell in the body in a particular way. All right, it's not just the organ systems pictured here, but it's everything. The whole body is affected when we're in the parasympathetic state. Now, the negative current of the body is what we refer to as the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system. When it is on, it's going to affect every organ system in the body and every cell in the body in the opposite way. These two systems are polar opposite of each other. Now, the professor said this, says this system gets turned on, and what happens is that we operate in one state or the other state at any given moment. We can go back and forth between the two, but at any given moment, we are either in the parasympathetic state or the sympathetic state. I got the connection from what Dr. Kalitsky was trying to teach me 3 years earlier, that we are either surviving in the sympathetic state or we are thriving in the parasympathetic state. And that's all there is. Ooh, this is profound wisdom, but it's the reality of how our central nervous system and our body is wired. And it's true for any animal that has a central nervous system. So when we are in the sympathetic state, we are reacting to stress. We are in the state of survival. We operate at a very primal level because our limbic brain is what takes over. Now, we may recognize the reactions of fight, flight, freeze, and fold. Those are very primal reactions. But what's interesting is that even as subtle as a perceived threat, which is the definition of a fear, that's enough to trigger us to be in the sympathetic state. For instance, the thought of, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with Alexander today. Oh my God. Oh, that's enough to put us in sympathetic. What we now see in the research is very clear. The common thread of all chronic disease is being in the state of dis-ease far too much, far too often, far too long. That's what contributes to all chronic disease. As Dr. Dean Ornish says, that all chronic disease is the same disease that just has different faces. It's being in the sympathetic state far too much. So we have to understand that's the common thread. What we do in lifestyle medicine is something radically different. Instead of giving you a medication while you're in the sympathetic state and not changing your central nervous system state, what we're going to do is empower you to change your lifestyle behaviors so that you swing the pendulum from being predominantly sympathetic and staying too much in the sympathetic state and swing the pendulum so that you actually start to live predominantly in the parasympathetic state. And if we can do that and only have you go in sympathetic briefly, then the body can heal itself. And what we show in the research is that this approach of empowering you to swing the pendulum from sympathetic to parasympathetic is far more effective than any medication could ever be. So our job is not to put medications on top of the sympathetic. That's like putting icing on top of mud, thinking it's a cake underneath. Not good. So we want to change your central nervous system state from sympathetic to parasympathetic, to empower you to do this as much as possible, as often as possible, for as long as possible. And when we do this, you're experiencing peace and pleasure. Your body is able to restore and revive itself. You are able to digest your food effectively. You experience fun, play, and ease in your life. Your body starts to thrive and heal. It's remarkable. And you start to live a powerful life, which is wonderful. It's so wonderful. Now, everything affects the central nervous system that we have. Everything does. Everything affects your central nervous system. And a lot of people say, how do I change my central nervous system? Well, you have power, more than you realize. Even though it's unconsciously happening, you have power to influence your central nervous system. Now, this is not from me. This is from the wisdom of the ages. There are 5 major things that you have total control over that can influence your central nervous system state. So number 1 is going to be the thoughts that you think. Absolutely powerful. So if we have negative thoughts, or as my old teacher Zig Ziglar said, stinking thinking. So if we're over there, we're in the sympathetic state right off the bat. So we have to practice what I learned from one of my favorite teachers, Norman Vincent Peale. We have to practice the power of positive thinking. That will keep us in the parasympathetic state. Now, the words that we speak are very powerful in how they influence our central nervous system state. If we are complaining, if we are gossiping, if we're being negative, cynical, skeptical, critical, that will put us in the sympathetic state. If we are being kind, loving, compassionate, uplifting, encouraging, supportive, that will keep us in the parasympathetic state. The actions that we take also very important, because actions speak louder than words. So in particular, if we make promises to ourselves and we let ourselves off the hook, then that will put us in the sympathetic state, because we know. So what we have to practice is living a life of integrity, to keep all our promises, not only to others, but to ourselves. That's integrity. The 4th major influence is the company we keep. It's fascinating because we used to say that you are the average of the 5 people you most associate with. And there was research in psychology that bore this out. But we've gotten recent research out of Harvard especially, and what we've shown, it's even more profound than that we are influenced in terms of our central nervous system state. We're influenced not only by the people we directly associate with, but we're also influenced by who they associate with, and sometimes even a level further, who they associate with as well. So it's really profound. There's a book called Connected, And it's just really amazing research that's been done to show the impact of the company we keep. Now, you may not be able to change your family members if they have stinking thinking. I know. So I'm not saying is that you have to cut those people out of your life, but you may need to love them from further afar. Okay, so we'll talk more about that later, but it's really powerful to understand this. And then we need to build up the people that we associate with. We need community. We need that support. It's critically important to our health and our longevity. The fifth influence is the food that we eat. Now, this is surprising to a lot of people because a lot of people think food doesn't affect my central nervous system. Well, I got news for you. Everything affects your central nervous system, including the food we eat. We'll talk more about this later. So it's powerful to understand how everything affects the central nervous system. When we look and see, now I'm going to share with you some of the research so that I've done. When we look and see the pattern of stress in this country, in the United States, it's very interesting because I was influenced a lot by Dr. T. Colin Campbell's work and his epidemiological profound work called the China Study. And I've done similar research here for the information that we have here in the United States. So is there a pattern of stress in this country, in the United States? Well, this is straight from the CDC. Hasn't been updated yet. I always look. So what we show is that there's a pattern. The highest concentration of mental distress is here in this portion of the country. All right, here's what we see. Okay, oh wow, look at West Virginia, Kentucky. Woo! Okay, lots of stress there. And Fresno. Okay, so, all right, so there's a lot of stress in certain parts of the country, in some parts more than others. So it's rather interesting. I mean, you look at Mississippi, you look at Oklahoma. I mean, there's areas where we see a tremendously much higher levels of stress. Well, is there a correlation between the stress and chronic disease? That was an interesting question. Well, it turns out if we look at mortality from cardiovascular disease, we have a very similar pattern. Very similar pattern. All right. So we see through the Deep South, especially, is that there is still a much higher level of cardiovascular disease. No kidding. There's a relationship. There's a correlation. So we don't say cause and effect, but there's a correlation. So we say that in epidemiology. And if we look at cancer, well, look at here. Very similar pattern again. All right. So we see that there's a correlation between stress and the pattern of cancer. How about strokes? This one shocked me when I saw it. Wow. Like, wow. Okay, so stroke death rates by county in the United States, there is definitely a correlation between stress and stroke death rate. It's interesting when we look at the 10 states in the entire United States in terms of life expectancy, the 10 states with the lowest life expectancy happen to be geographically next to each other. Wow. Statistically, this shouldn't happen. There's something going on. So in case you forgot your geography, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia having the lowest levels of life expectancy in the entire United States. I'm glad I live out in California. All right. Now, it's interesting also because recently we went through the COVID pandemic, and when we show where people are more at risk for severe COVID-19 illness, look at the pattern. It's a very similar pattern through the Deep South is what we see. So fascinating to see this because it adds up. There is a correlation between stress and chronic disease. No kidding. So sometimes being healthy is more about what's eating you than what you eat, whether it's stocks, homework, in-laws, shark bite. Okay, so it's what is eating you. consider, my friends, that anytime we experience a loss of vitality, energy, vigor, strength, power, connection, fulfillment, peace, or ease, we're in the state of survival. We're in the state of survival. So in the chat window, here's what I want you to do. I want you to type in, what are some of the things that cause you to be stressed? What causes you to be stressed? So I'm checking the chat window right now. All right, so what causes you to be stressed? Just type in 1, 2, or 3 things. What are sources of stress for you? Type in the chat window. Okay, taxes, got it. The unknown, worry, health, got it. What else? What else? Causes or sources of stress. Keep it going, keep it going. Oh, the current Trump news and the state of our country's union. Got it. Politicians, war. Got it. Okay. Keep it going. A couple more, couple more. All right. Really, really good. Really good. Your to-do list. Oh, yeah, there you go. Adult children, climate change, greed, love. Thank you. Thank you all. This is great. This is great. So consider lots of things can cause us stress. Lots of things. And everything you shared, absolutely valid. Absolutely. Lots of things that cause us stress. And in today's world, that has even expanded more. I mean, recently, in the last few years, it's been tremendous. COVID, racism, economy, cash flow, fires, isolation, health, politics. I mean, so much stress to so many people, especially through COVID. We have had so much these last several years in terms of stress. So I want you to think for right now. So go to the chat window right now. What are some of the things that you notice for you in terms of how stress affects you? How does stress impact you? I'm going to give you some prompts here. All right. What do you notice for you? So it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be mental, it could be spiritual, it could be anything here. So I'm giving how does stress impact you? Go ahead and write that in the chat window. Okay. Gastrointestinal system, absolutely. Less energy. Yes. Stomach tightness. Heart rate goes up, feel nauseated and paralyzed. Yeah, keep it going. Emotional, start thinking of food to comfort me. Got it. Yes. Can't sleep. Yes. How many times people wake up in the middle of the night and you just can't go back to sleep? Yeah, so these are powerful impact. Worry, anxiety, low energy, and avoiding people. Yes, absolutely. So these are the things that you notice of how it affects you. When you have stress, it definitely has an impact in many different ways. In fact, it can affect you all of these ways. All of these ways. Does this affect our performance in our life? Yes, it absolutely does, especially when it's persistent over a long enough period of time. So in psychology, we talk about what's called the stress curve, how stress relates to performance, not necessarily in the workplace, but in any aspect of your life. So on the x-axis is increasing stress, on the y-axis is increasing performance. Now, here's what we know is this, and we see this all the time. When we have very little stress, what we tend to be is in the state of what we call underload. So this is when we're inactive and laid back. So when you go on vacation, you're on the beach and it's a beautiful day. All right, you're laid back. That is underload. You don't have anything to worry about. That's great. That's awesome. But you can't live there. Okay, so none of us get a chance to live there. We need to do that from time to time. We need a vacation so we can actually get to that state. from time to time, it's healthy to be in underload. It really is. It helps us to recharge. Most of the time, where we want to be operating is where we have just the optimal level of stress. Now, in psychology, the term we use is eustress, E-U stress, eustress. So eustress is optimal. That means you have just enough stress, enough tension, stimulation, inspiration to do the work or do the things that you need to do, but it's not causing fatigue. You're operating in a very functional and optimal level. So it's great. You have excellent performance when you're in this level, in any aspect of your life. So this is the optimal level eustress. Now, the tip of the bell-shaped curve, the top of the bell-shaped curve, is where we start to notice fatigue. So this is where you start getting tired and you start looking for the bed early. This is where you start noticing your energy level just beginning to drop, all right? So your energy level starts to drop. That's an indication that you've gotten enough stress, that you need to bring your stress level down a notch. If we go past this, we then start to step into what we call overload. Now, overload is where we have a bit too much stress and we start to experience exhaustion and overwhelm. So we start to feel like this is too much. I can't keep up. It seems to be overwhelming me. I can't keep going with this. When do I get a break? Oh, you ever say that to yourself? So I need a break. And so we may get to a point, we may start to feel exhaustion from time to time. That's not too good. The real concern is when we get to a point where we experience even more stress. It becomes more than overwhelming. And it becomes a level of stress that becomes detrimental. And this is where we start to have burnout because it's been repetitive for such a long time. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And we start to experience symptoms like anxiety and panic and anger, sometimes breakdown and depression. And we start to shut down as well. We start to really have some serious shutting down. So there's a lot of symptoms that can occur here. This happens sometimes with healthcare professionals. This happens with nurses working in the ICU or their CCU or in the oncology wards. I actually did stress management training for those healthcare professionals for years. I mean, it's extraordinary how much stress they have. And we've seen a lot more of this, especially in the last several years. So we have to be aware that there is definitely an impact when we have too much stress. And we're depending on where we are. A lot of times I actually share this curve with people and I say, where do you see yourself? Where are you right now in this moment? Where are you? And sometimes they show me that they're over here someplace. That's not good. That's alarming. Sometimes they're over here. Rarely do I see people operating here. Rarely. Most people are operating in these two areas where there's too much stress and there's overload. Now, what I had to learn, and a very powerful and humbling lesson it was for me, I had to learn that when I am stressed, when I am irritated, annoyed, angry, frustrated, whatever the case may be, every time that I'm feeling stressed, it's a function of two things. And I had to learn that when I'm stressed, it's a function of my perception, how I see things, how I view the world, how I view others, how I view myself. It's my perception, and it's combined with my reaction, which is my subconscious wiring, my conditioning. My friends, this is the most humbling and yet probably the most illuminating aspect that you can get from today's webinar. If you can get this will free you up. I promise you. I had to get that if I'm stressed, I'm upset, I'm irritated, it's my perception and my reaction. It's me. The common denominator is me. It has nothing to do with what's going on out there. Now, that's a big pill to swallow. I know. But if you can just sit with this just for right now, I will show you how powerful this concept is. And it will free you up, my friends. It really will. So now, as I studied so many aspects of stress, I discovered that there are 3 major categories of stress. And it has to do with the level of control that we have. So the first stress category is external. External stressors are where we have little to no control. The second category are interpersonal relationships, where we do have some control, but have you noticed you can't control another human being? Interesting. Okay, very important. And then the third stress category is internal stressors. That's where we have total control, because guess what? We create it, not intentionally, but subconsciously. So we do that. So door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. We're going to start with door number 1. So let's start with external stressors. So these are things you have little to no control over. Things like taxes, things like traffic on I-80 heading out of Sacramento on a Friday afternoon. Okay, things like the weather. I've heard people complain about the weather, and I'm thinking to myself, since when do you have control over the weather? No, if you don't like the weather, you can move. Okay, so it's just going to happen. Company policies, foreign policy, federal government, the budget. I mean, there's so many different things that we have little to no control over. But we complain, don't we? That's what gets us into trouble. So consider this, my friends, that there are things that we do have control over and things that we have absolutely no control over. You can't control someone else's decisions. You can't control death, who likes you, how others treat you, others taking care of themselves, others being kind, who loves you, your height, your skin color, past mistakes, others being honest, if someone else keeps trying, others forgiving you, others asking for help, the weather, others apologizing to you. You can't control any of that. What you can control, doing your homework if you're a student, respecting property, being kind, being accountable, studying for tests, the friends that you choose to have, your decisions, forgiving, how you respond to challenges, trying again, how you spend your free time, doing your chores, taking care of yourself, being honest, asking for help, working hard, how you respond to others, and apologizing. You have total control over those things. So you have to learn to distinguish, what do you have control over? What do you not have control over? I love this one too. This is not your responsibility. Other people's actions, other people's ideas, other people's fears, the consequences of other people's actions, other people's beliefs, other people's mistakes, other people's words. This is your responsibility in the center. Your words, your behavior, your actions, your efforts, your mistakes, your ideas, and the consequences of your actions. A few more people I can think of in the world need to learn this lesson. This is powerful. This is powerful to learn. So these are the distinctions of helping us to understand that there are many things that we have little to no control over, and we need to be able to distinguish, what do I have control over, what do I not? Okay. Now, for us to be able to deal with the things that we have no control over, we need to become resilient. Resilience in psychology is defined as the capacity to prepare for disruptions, recover from shocks and stresses, and adapt and grow from a disruptive experience. So we need to build resilience. And this is my friend Nimai Delgado. Okay, so he is, I think, he's an example of having a resilient physique, and he has got a mindset to go along with it, which is really great. So lifestyle medicine, the lifestyle medicine areas are all about building resilience. So these are 8 lifestyle medicine areas that I focus on. So these are hydration, nutrition, physical activity, risky substance reduction, sleep, emotional well-being and stress management, healthy relationships, and happiness. I'm not going to cover all of this today. I'm just going to cover a few major areas, okay? Just to get started. This is stress management 101. Okay, so the first area I'm going to talk about is probably the most important because it comes across all the time. In all these years that I've been working with people and helping people with their health for over 40 years, I've come across that the number one area that people contribute to their stress unknowingly when it comes to being resilient is their hydration. We need water. Most people do not drink enough water. Most of us are dehydrated. So we need to be able to drink enough water. It's really important. It helps put us back into the parasympathetic state. Water is absolutely essential for our chemical reactions in our body, for everything to work, our blood, and for healing. Now, if you need a minimum of 1 ounce per pound of body weight if you weigh less than 96 pounds, up to a gallon of water per day for all of you. Now, you may need to increase your sodium if you take on a dramatic increase in water. Don't try to do that, okay? So just gradually increase your water. And then you may need to decrease your water if you have kidney or heart issues. Please work with your physician. All right, so that's real important to understand. Now, a hack to help you to get to at least 96 ounces. So this is my hack to help you to get the little habits, the practices to get you to at least 96 ounces. So drink 2 full 8 ounces glasses of water first thing in the morning. That's 16 ounces right off the bat. That will help you. It rehydrates your brain because while we sleep, we lose water. Urination, defecation, perspiration, and respiration. So those are the 4 ways that we're losing water all the time. So we need to rehydrate. And the most important organ we need to rehydrate, believe it or not, is your brain. It's 80% water. So you need to rehydrate this brain. You don't need the coffee, my friends. You need the water. So get your water. Get it going. Drink a glass of water before and after each meal, or during, that's fine. But you want to drink usually 2 glasses with a meal. Drink 2 glasses before a workout and 2 glasses after a workout because you should be exercising every day. All right, that will get you to 96 ounces. In addition, you can eat your water with very, very healthy foods that are high in water content. Cucumber, lettuce, tomato, watermelon, strawberry, cantaloupe, pineapple, orange, grapes. Plenty of options. Some people, they say, well, I don't like the taste of water. Okay, first of all, stop complaining. Okay. Second, you can infuse your water. All right, it's easy to do. Get a pitcher. And then what you do is you cut up some cucumber, cut up some lemons, some limes, strawberries, whatever you want. Just cut them up, put it in the water and let it soak overnight. You will love the taste of your water in the morning. It's wonderful, just wonderful. Do that. Now, not only is it important to drink more water, but it's also important that you monitor the quality of the water that comes out of you, your urine. So you should check your pee. It should be pale yellow to clear. That's a good sign that you're hydrated enough. If you're drinking enough water, you generally speaking will be going to the bathroom with at least every hour to hour and a half. That's a good marker for how frequently you should be going to the bathroom. If you're going to the bathroom every 30 minutes, you probably can back off. If you're only going to the bathroom to urinate 2 times a day, you are definitely dehydrated. So you want to make sure you get enough water going into your body. By the way, you don't have to worry socially about drinking more water because, quite frankly, if you're drinking a gallon of water a day, it helps you to avoid other people's drama because You're too busy having to go to the bathroom. You got to run, pee. Yes, stay hydrated, my friends, okay? All right, so that's hydration. Really important. I cannot even begin to tell you what a difference that makes. All right, so you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. Very, very important. That's number one. Okay, number two is going to be your nutrition. Now, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine is not the only organization that now states the value of a plant-based diet. All of these organizations now are all on board. All these scientific organizations say, eat more unrefined plant foods. Powerful. So what we advocate in lifestyle medicine is a whole foods as opposed to a processed food approach to diet. Whole foods mean that they are nothing added and nothing taken away. Be mashed up or cut up, that's fine. Whole foods are nothing added, nothing taken away. All right, tofu, there's nothing added, okay? Just some water. All right, so there's nothing taken away. So it's not a processed food. Processed foods is something added and something taken away, or something taken away. Now, we also advocate for plant foods as opposed to animal foods. So the more plant foods you can get, looks like this menu here, the better. So we want to drive higher amount of plant foods. Really important to do that. It makes a difference. And I'm going to send you the research that's down there on the bottom as far as all the information and research on this. Now, in simplicity, and I have a lot of seminars where I go into a lot more detail about this dietary approach. I'm not going to cover that today. So consider this, that the food that you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Why? Because everything that you eat or drink is going to affect your central nervous system. It's either going to contribute to your health or detract from your health. And this happens neurologically as well. So my food pyramid is understanding that meat, dairy, oils, processed foods, refined sugar, deep fried foods, sodas, legal drugs, including caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol, and excitotoxins, including MSG and aspartame, those are all going to produce a sympathetic response in the body. Whereas starchy veggies, whole grains, legumes, greens, colorful veggies, and fruit will all stimulate a parasympathetic response. So stay in the parasympathetic. That's the key. All right. Now, the next area that we want to talk about is exercise. When it comes to being able to manage your stress and be more resilient, it's critical that we exercise. So this is me on the left. Notice the hair color change. All right. So what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead for 24 hours a day? What's it going to be, boo-boo? All right, so you want to make sure that you're moving. It's really important. Now, when it comes to stress, it's incredible. We have this research, an international research study out of Oxford and Yale. And what they showed is that exercise actually makes you happier than having money. Incredible. Absolutely amazing. And the sweet spot for being able to have it, that's the lower this part of the curve, so that's the sweet spot, is about 150 to 300 minutes per week. That's what we want to be able to do. So exercise, absolutely critical. Spread it out over the course of the week. Don't do it all at once, but we want 150 to 300 minutes of exercise per week. That's what we recommend in lifestyle medicine. Now, in addition to doing aerobic exercise, you should also be doing strength work. So I definitely recommend that you do strength, especially as we get older. Most of us don't do enough strength work to have stronger muscles because otherwise you will naturally atrophy. So you've got to challenge your muscles because if you don't use it, you lose it. So make sure you do that. One of my favorite exercises to be able to incorporate a lot of benefits is yoga. Now, I'm biased because I taught yoga for over 15 years and I still practice. So be doing yoga. It's a wonderful practice, especially as we get older. It really helps as far as dealing with stress. Many people do yoga just to help them with their mindset. And yoga actually is designed to help you to prepare your mind for meditation, which is a wonderful practice of relaxing your body quieting your mind, and awakening your spirit. So it's a beautiful practice, and it's about being still. Most of us just don't do that, but it's a wonderful thing. So that's exercise, all right? And meditation as well. Another area to help improve resilience in managing your stress is to improve your sleep. Oh, so important. Sleep is so, so very important. Now, I have a whole seminar just on sleep, whole seminar. I've got that all recorded as well. So the thing is, you can go to that if that's an area for you of concern. I'm just going to give you the most important hack here. Number one, make sure your bedroom is just for sleep and intimacy. That's it. Okay. Don't have the TV in there. Don't have your office in there. Don't make that your reading room. No, it's just for sleep and intimacy. That's it. Now, have a regular schedule. The number one tip that all the experts say is have a regular schedule. Go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. If you can improve that, that will make a huge difference to how your brain functions and being in the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic. If you have erratic sleep schedules, you will be more likely to be in the sympathetic state. So the most important thing is to be in the parasympathetic by having consistency. Power naps are perfectly fine. Try to keep them to about 30 minutes or less. That's perfectly fine. Don't be afraid of doing that. Another thing that can help us in terms of being resilient, and I truly believe in the power of massage. I think massage is so restorative. To be able to have a trained person to be able to work on your body and to be able to help you relax and relieve some of the stress physically, it's a beautiful thing. There's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual benefits of massage that are just wonderful, really important. And another resilience stress reliever. The research shows absolutely that being able to engage in dancing is a powerful way to reduce your risk of dementia and improve your stress levels. Absolutely. So I'm a big time advocate for this because I've been a salsa dancer now for 23 years. So absolutely fantastic. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful way to age gracefully and handle your stress. And I can tell you from personal experience, any day I had a bad day, if I went out dancing, I automatically felt better. It was fantastic. Music's great, so much fun. And the movement is so exhilarating. It's great. Now, I'm going to give you the most important hack right now when it comes to being able to be resilient and dealing with stress. So the most important hack in being able to shift your energy from sympathetic to parasympathetic is to practice controlled breathing. Now, as a yoga teacher, I learned many different ways of being able to control your breathing. There's many patterns, many exercises, lots of different approaches. But I always like looking at evidence-based approaches to being able to do everything. So I came across some research from a very interesting neuroscientist, Dr. Andrew Huberman. Now, what he showed is that all animals, including humans, when we're sleeping, we have this interesting breathing pattern. So what we do periodically while we're sleeping, we'll have this normal breathing rhythm. Inhale, exhale. And we're usually breathing about 14, 16 breaths per minute. So we're just normally doing that kind of a rate of breathing. And then every now and then, periodically, what we'll do is we'll inhale, pause, inhale deeply, and then have a long exhale. Now, Dr. Huberman looked at the research on this, and it's really interesting. Like, why do we do this? And it turns out that we do this physiologically to help rebalance the oxygen and the CO2 levels in our blood. So what we do is we use this pattern of breathing called the physiological sigh. We do this to help re-regulate, increase the oxygen levels, and decrease the CO2 levels. Very fascinating. Interesting. And we do it while we're sleeping. We're not paying attention. Now, if you have dogs or cats, Watch them. You'll notice that they'll do this. Now you do it too, but while you're sleeping, but you're not aware of it. It just happens automatically. So what Dr. Huberman did is he said, what if we did this consciously? What would happen? So we tested this out, and it was very fascinating because not only did we re-regulate the oxygen and CO2 levels when we did it consciously, but what was amazing is that blood pressure went down, heart rate went down, and he discovered that this is the fastest way to be able to change your neurological state from sympathetic to parasympathetic like that. Wow. I'm going to send you a video in the follow-up email. Now, we're going to do a little practice right here, right here. So just sit comfortably and follow my instructions. So just begin now by just breathing slowly as if you're going to go to sleep, but don't go to sleep. Just breathe slowly. Just slow your breathing down. Close your eyes. Now, on the count of 3, everybody will inhale just a normal breath, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And now inhale, pause, inhale deeply, long exhale. And then back to normal breathing. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And now inhale, pause deeply, inhale, and long exhale. And notice how that feels. Write it in the chat window. How does that feel? How's that feel? Doesn't that feel wonderful? Yeah, write that down. Write it in the chat window. Or did I put you to sleep already? So write that in the chat window. Wonderful. Yes, it's wonderful. Yes, it's a wonderful hack. And you can do this every time, anytime you want. It's relaxing. Yes, it's really wonderful, calming. And by the way, if you ever have difficulty going back to sleep, if you get up in the middle of the night, practice this. You'll go back to sleep much more quickly. So it's wonderful. Practice this during the course of the day. In fact, I teach this as a way for people to start the process of learning how to meditate. It's very, very simple. Okay, so that's that's part 1, the external stressors. So that's the first one. So now let's step into the second category of stressors. Those are interpersonal relationships. Oh my. Oh my. Those darn human beings that we have to interact with. Oh my, sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be not so good. And so interpersonal relationships can be a source of stress, can't they? Absolutely. They really can. So I want you to think of something right now. I want you to think, who is someone that challenges you? Someone that is difficult for you to deal with. Like if their name showed up on the caller ID, you would seriously think twice about answering it. So who is that person? Don't write it in the chat window. Do not. Okay. I just want you to keep it to yourself. Write their initials down for you. But now here's the next part. Here's the next part. In the moment of truth, when you have been upset, irritated, annoyed, frustrated, challenged, any of the uncomfortable emotions that you have felt around this person, in that moment of truth, in your self-talk, in your head, because we're always talking to ourselves, what is it that you have said to yourself about them? Don't identify who they are, but just write that in the chat window now. What is it that you have said to yourself in the moment of truth about them, silently to yourself, Like, what an idiot. Are you kidding me? Okay. Or whatever the case may be. What have you said to yourself? Now what? Right? Okay, I love that one. Okay, what else? Keep it going, people. Come on, this is your opportunity. You have to participate to make this work. Okay, so what have you said? Keep it going, keep it going. What have you said to yourself in the moment of truth? Okay, you're either over here on the right, upper right, or upper left. Okay, okay, so in that moment of truth, what have you said to yourself about them? I'm too busy for this. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. All right. You have said in your past, it doesn't have to be that it's right now. What have you said at any point in your life about another person? Oh, God, very nosy, asking too many questions. Why is he doing this to me? Okay, got it. Okay. Oh, no, not again. Okay, love that. All right, good, good. At any time in your life, you said these kinds of things to yourself. All right. So I want you to think about this and realize that we do this as human beings. We get upset. We get upset, don't we? We're the ones that are triggered by them. Why are you doing this to me, right? And so I want you to consider that. Go back to what I said earlier. What I learned is that when I discovered, and the humbling lesson is that if I'm stressed, it's my perception combined with my reaction. Common denominator is me. So consider, and I love this quote here, that thank you for making me so angry that every time I open my mouth, it appears that I have Tourette syndrome. So consider, my friends, that it's not about them. They're just triggering you and your subconscious wiring. Now, I'm going to do a whole seminar. Actually, it's going to be a webinar coming up in July, and it's going to be eliminating self-sabotage on July 13th. You do not want to miss that. You do not want to miss that. So July 13th, you do not want to miss eliminating self-sabotage, same time, same place, same station. So the thing is, we get upset with other people because of our wiring. And most of the time, when we're upset with others, we have one of two, or possibly the combination of these two primary conversations. We revert back to our inner child. And we're saying things like, I'm not getting what I want, or it shouldn't be this way, or some combination thereof. And there could be others. But the thing is, we get caught up in saying these things to ourselves, and we get attached, and we get afraid, and we start to suffer. We suffer. We suffer. When we're angry and upset with someone else, we suffer. They're just being themselves. I'm the one who's suffering when I'm upset with someone else. So one of my favorite teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, people have a hard time letting go of their suffering. Out of a fear of the unknown, they prefer suffering that is familiar. This is what we do when we hold on to being angry, upset, irritated, and annoyed with another human being. Oh my, and we suffer. We suffer. That's what happens. Another one of my favorite teachers, Dan Millman, who wrote The Peaceful Warrior, said this, that life is not suffering. It's not meant to be suffering. No, it's not suffering. It's just that you will suffer it rather than enjoy it until you let go of your mind's attachments and just go for the ride freely, no matter what happens. The key to understand here is that we hold on to our attachments. We have attachments to how we think everyone else and life should be. You should do this, you should do that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, I should do this, I should do that, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. We should all over everything. That's what we do. So one of my favorite books to examine these attachments is a powerful book by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., who lives up in Rockland. He's the son of Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the Four Agreements. In his book, he portrayed the 5 levels of attachments that we can have as human beings. The first level is actually no attachment. That's what it means to be authentic. To be authentic means living with no attachments. You're totally present. You have total acceptance of yourself and others. You live in a state of joy, and there's no conditions or expectations that you impose on anyone else, including yourself. Everything is a choice. The second level of attachment is the least, or the weakest form of attachment. It's the least, the weakest. So its preference is how we would like things to be. It's just a preference. You know, I would like to go watch the Sacramento Kings play the Golden State Warriors and beat them once in a while. But it's okay with me if it's just a good game. I just want to watch a good game. That's a preference. I'm not attached that much. It's a weak amount of attachments. The next level of attachment is identity. Now what happens? We put on a hat. We put on a shirt that has a label on it. We adopt an egoic label, and it's part of our ego. And it's how we see ourselves when we adopt a persona around that. I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm this, I'm that, whatever the case may be. So we create an identity. It's a stronger level of attachment. The next level of attachment, even stronger, is internalization. Now we take this identity and persona and we internalize it as a condition of acceptance. I should do this. I should do that. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. And then we impose that on others. You should do this. You should do that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. So it's a condition for acceptance, and we impose that view on others. We should all over things. But then the fifth level is even more, it's extreme, and that is fanaticism. Fanaticism is when your beliefs become so important that it becomes more important than the experience itself. It becomes a condition of total, either you're in or you're out, you're right or you're wrong. It's you transcend the should into must. I must do this. I must do that. You must do this. You must do that. And we impose this on others as well. And what we've been seeing in this world in the last several years is more and more fanaticism, haven't we? We've been seeing a lot more. So we need to understand this. Our mission, and I would invite you to read this book, our mission is to decrease the levels of attachment that you have and to become as authentic as you can in every area of your life. We all have attachments, every single one of us. So what we need to do is look at that and be honest with us and take responsibility for it. I love what Don Miguel Ruiz said about of all the beliefs to detach from, this is the most important one. Let go of the attachment that you must obtain some image of perfection in order to be happy. And when it comes to relationships, this is crippling, is expecting the other person to be perfect for you. No such thing. So to practice living into a life without attachment, I want to share with you this amazing story. It's a Zen story. It's called The Wise Woman's Stone. So a wise woman who was traveling in the mountains found a precious stone in a stream. The next day, she met another traveler who was hungry. And the wise woman opened her bag to share her food. The hungry traveler saw the precious stone and asked the woman to give it to him. She did so without hesitation. The traveler left, rejoicing in his good fortune. He knew the stone was worth enough to give him security for a lifetime. But a few days later, he came back to return the stone to the wise woman. I've been thinking, he said. I know how valuable the stone is, but I'm giving it back in the hope that you can give me something even more precious. Please give me what you have within you that enabled you to give me the stone without pause. Mm. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. What I've learned over the years in dealing with relationships and being able to eliminate upsets is to take these steps. First, if I'm upset, irritated, annoyed, frustrated, whatever the case may be, recognize who is causing me to be upset. Oh, that would be me. It's my perception and my reaction. That's first. Then stop the blame, shame, guilt card. Stop it. Stop it. Stop playing that game. Let go of blame, shame, and guilt on others, on yourself. Just stop it. Then examine your attachments and let go. Let go of attachments. Step into acceptance of yourself and others. Then take responsibility. So an affirmation statement that I have for myself every single day is that I am completely responsible for my health, my happiness, and my life. Powerful affirmation statement. Take responsibility for your life because you're not responsible for anyone else and no one's responsible for you. If you take responsibility for yourself, that's a powerful place to stand. And then one of the lessons I learned from Dr. Stephen Covey, seek first to understand, then to be understood. All right. Most of us play the other way around. All right. Don't try to get your point across. All right. Seek first to understand what's going on over there. We don't know. Why are they upset or angry? Or why did they do what they did? What? Just why? Ask. Now, in the event that you need to communicate boundaries, sometimes it's important to do so. Brene Brown taught me that a very simple way to be able to understand boundaries and communicate them is being able to state what's okay and what's not okay. Very simple, very elegant, but it works. When you're at peace, the world is one person closer to being peaceful as a whole. And I can tell you from learning this from all my wonderful teachers that I've had over the years, I used to get triggered by my father. Within 5 minutes, it was World War III. Yes, indeed. All the time. He was somebody that triggered me. And it happened no matter what happened, no matter what was going on, even on the phone. And then I learned how to actually practice this whole process of first recognizing that I'm the one who's upset. It's me. And starting to learn this approach and practicing this over and over and over again and being humble enough to practice this. In 2006, I went down to Southern California to visit some friends and then over to my parents. And I was supposed to meet my parents on Saturday evening at 6 o'clock for dinner. And I was over in Santa Monica, which is about 30 miles away. And I said, okay, I'm just going to leave about 4:30. That should be plenty of time, an hour and a half to get to my parents' house, 30 miles, no problem. I just catch the Santa Monica freeway, go through the interchange, and then I'll be at my parents' house in no time at all. So I left at 4:30. And no sooner had I gotten into Los Angeles that there was this traffic jam on a Saturday afternoon with so many cars, and I was stuck in the fast lane all the way over in the fast lane. So there's 5 lanes across, and I'm stuck over there, and it's bumper to bumper. Oh my God, on a Saturday. But the Santa Monica Freeway happens to be it was for a while, the most traveled freeway in the entire world. Well, it was that day because everybody in the entire world was on the Santa Monica Freeway. So I called my mother after about a half an hour, 45 minutes. And I called her and I said, Mom, I've been in traffic on the Santa Monica Freeway, and I just got past Crenshaw Boulevard. Not very far. And I don't know what's going on in LA, but I am stuck in traffic. And she just said, well, that's fine. Just thank you for letting us know, and just let us know when you get past the interchange. I said, okay, I'll do that. So now it is, I started at 4:30. So now here it is. It's 5:45. 5:45. I'm supposed to be there at 6 o'clock. And I'm barely getting into the interchange. Oh my God. And so I call. This time, my dad answers the phone. And I said, I just want to let you know I'm getting off the interchange right now. What the hell is going on with you? He read me the riot act, up one side, down the other, everything else. It was pretty crazy. And for the first time in my life, the visceral reaction that normally occurred without fail was now gone. It was gone, my friends, because I practiced this approach. And I was able to calmly respond to my father. I said, well, I'm getting off at Soda Street right now because if I stay on the freeway, chances are it's going to take me another hour. So I'll get off at Soda Street and I'll be there within 20 minutes. And he said, oh, see you when you get here. That was the beginning of a change in our entire relationship. And I no longer get triggered by my father. So if you can practice this and learn this and practice this, it will make a huge change. Now, I'm going to give you another tool, because dealing with conflict is something that happens quite frequently for us as human beings, right? We're both triggered. We're both triggered. And what we tend to do when we're both triggered in a conflict is we tend to use defense strategies, pointing the finger of blame, yelling, screaming, putting the gloves on, duking it out, or then rolling the tanks out and going to war. That's craziness, all right? Craziness. So I'm going to give you this tool. I'm going to send you home. I'm going to send you a handout on this. And my tool is called the Communication Pentagon. Now, here's the key. If you're going to use this, you have to de-escalate your energy in order to use this effectively. If you do this effectively, it's very effective. It's very, very effective. But you have to de-escalate first. And you have to use nonviolent communication language, what I notice, observe, and see, the facts from your perspective, what I think the reasons for the breakdown, what I feel is the impact on you, me, and everyone else, what I see is missing that could actually make a difference, and what I request and would ask and like to see. And you make this a dialogue. What I notice, what do you notice? What I think, what do you think? What I feel, what do you feel? What I see is missing, what do you see is missing? What I would like to request, what would you like to request? So it's a very powerful tool. So I recommend that you learn how to practice this. It's an incredible tool, very effective. I've used this with my CEO clients for years, been extremely effective. All right, so that's the second area of stress, is interpersonal relationships. By the way, this is part of my communication seminar that I have. I have communication trainings that I do, very extensive work. So I've got lots more information on this. So let's step now into the third area, are the internal stressors. So the internal stressors are our own fears. They're from inside. And being able to conquer fear is a very powerful process. Being able to learn how to conquer our own fears. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've had many wonderful teachers that have taught me a lot about how to actually overcome and conquer fear. On the right here is a picture of Oprah Winfrey being escorted by Tony Robbins over about 15 to 20 feet of hot coals at 1,100 to 2,000 degrees with bare feet. Bare feet. I was a few rows down and I did the same thing that same night in 2011. It's powerful. I do not recommend you try this at home. No. You have to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically prepared to do this. It's extraordinary. Now, we have to learn how to do this. And we have to understand how we learn about life. We have to be able to remember, I said we have to unlearn what we've learned. So first of all, we have to understand, how do we learn about life? How do we primarily learn about life? Dr. Bruce Lipton, brilliant scientist, he states that 95% of our life is coming from the subconscious programs of how to live life that we get in the first 7 years of our life, because our brain in the first 7 years of our life is operating on a different frequency. It's called theta. And theta is the same as hypnosis. So in the first 7 years of our life, boys a little bit longer, maybe 8 or 9 years, what we're doing is we're walking around in this theta frequency, and we're just downloading everything that we see, hear, feel, taste, touch, smell, and experience. We download everything. And it gets programmed, 100% programming. Very effective. And then what happens? We stop operating in the theta frequency. We start having rational thinking. We begin that process. It takes a while. And then we wake up as an adult. And our brain is like a laptop computer that we open up in the first thing in the morning. We're awake. And we have all these icons on the desktop. Oh, here's for breakfast. Here's for workout. Here's for work. Here's for relationships. Here's for this. We start using these software programs. They're right there. And we just use them day after day after day after day after day after day. We just keep using them. And we continue to get the same results day after day. Until one day, maybe we wake up and we realize, oh my God, I'm getting the same results. I'm doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results. That's not working. And that's the definition of insanity. And so we get to a realization that, oh my gosh, I need to do something about this, but I don't know how to change the programming. And none of us got a course in high school or college on how to successfully rewire your subconscious mind. Fortunately, I did. After college and after medical school, I started learning about this. To be able to do this, we have to understand that everything that gets programmed becomes a belief. We establish all these beliefs. So going back to this, thoughts trusted to be true, they're strongly held opinions. So they're programmed into our subconscious mind. And fears are beliefs. So some of the most common fears that we learn to develop these beliefs are the fear of rejection. We become afraid of being excluded and not included. Fear of failure. We become afraid of disappointing our parents, afraid of not looking good and definitely looking bad. We become afraid of success, because if we become successful, that means that we're going to become alienated from our friends, and we'll have too many responsibilities and you won't be able to have as much fun. We become afraid of the unknown. We're afraid to step into uncharted territory, and we're afraid of that uncertainty. We become afraid of being uncomfortable because we can become very attached to our favorite blanket, our favorite pillow, our favorite pajamas, all those things. We want to feel good. We become afraid of pain because we've been hurt before. We don't want to be hurt again. We become afraid of loss because we don't want to lose that which we love and we have become very attached to. We become afraid of responsibility because we're like Peter Pan. We don't want to grow up. We want somebody else to take care of us. And these fears affect us in many different ways. As adults, we become, and what we notice, we become afraid of speaking up, or afraid of not speaking up, afraid of being rejected socially, afraid of being rejected professionally, afraid of not being noticed, afraid of being noticed, afraid of saying the wrong thing, showing weakness, trusting others, building meaningful relationships, being alone, being unloved, showing strength, doing things differently or taking risks, losing control, being in control, being shouted at or being dominated by others, shining too bright or showing others up. So we end up with all these fears that are programmed into our subconscious at a very early stage in our lives. And we don't know how to rewire it. And as Dr. Carl Jung, the professor who was really one of the fathers of modern psychology, he said this, that where your fear is, there your task is. There your task is. So when we're in the state of fear, we're operating in the sympathetic state. And we have a different way of thinking. One of the most brilliant psychologists that I read her book is called Mindset, Dr. Carol Dweck. And she, in her book, showed that when we're in the sympathetic state, we tend to operate in what's called the fixed mindset, which is the desire to be seen as perfect and talented. So we're looking for perfection. So it's all or nothing thinking. Either you got it or you don't. You're a winner or a loser. You're a success or a failure. So it's very all or nothing type of thinking. That is consistent with being in the sympathetic state. When we're in the parasympathetic state, we are able to think in the growth mindset, which means that there is no success or failure. Everything is an opportunity to learn and to improve, to develop ourselves, to become even better. So what happens is that when we're in the state of stress, what we're doing is we're operating based on standards and ideals, a fixed mindset and an attachment to perfection. And it's never truly fulfilling. Have you noticed? It's never truly fulfilling. So what we have to do is shift over to the growth mindset. Being in the parasympathetic, we can operate from values and principles. And it's a commitment to learning. That is always fulfilling. So one of the biggest myths that we have that's dysfunctional in the world that we live in is that we have this paradigm that accomplishment is the same as success. You can't be successful unless you've got all the money and the cars and the clothes and all this. Nothing could be further from the truth. This paradigm causes intense stress. It causes tremendous stress. I know so many people who have so much money and yet they're not fulfilled and they're miserable. So one of my favorite teachers was Coach John Wooden. And he distinguished between success and accomplishment. He said accomplishment is achieving the prize, attaining the goal, winning the race. Nothing bad or wrong with it, but it's not the same as success. Success, as he defined it, is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction and knowing that you have made the effort to do the best of what you're capable of. And I add 2 words to that: right now. Right now. It's a moment-by-moment experience. You can be a success and be happy and be successful and be fulfilled. To help you live this way, one of my favorite teachers is Don Miguel Ruiz. So I mentioned his son's book earlier. So Don Miguel Ruiz's first book is called The 4 Agreements. Powerful book. The 4 Agreements, in summary: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best. Powerful ways to rewrite the subconscious wiring. To practice being impeccable with your word means to speak with integrity. To excise gossiping, which are derogatory comments about another person who is not present. No gossip. And always speak in a direction of truth and love in everything you say, not only to others, but also to yourself. Easier said than done. Powerful agreement. One of the proverbs I learned a long time ago is that the words of the tongue should have 3 gatekeepers. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Before speaking, make sure it's that what you're going to say satisfies all 3. When I first learned this, I was a little bit quiet. Now, the 2 most powerful words in our language of what we say to ourselves all the time are I am. Because whatever we put after them on a consistent basis, repetitively, it will shape our reality. Absolutely will. So too many of us say, I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not enough. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. And we say these things to ourselves repetitively. Guess what? They become our reality. So what we have to be able to do is rewrite our self-talk, rewrite it, and come up with a lot of statements. And we have to do it consciously. And we need to have affirmation statements and assertion statements and intention statements, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't matter. We have to start speaking to ourselves in a positive way. It's critically important that we do so. So that's the first agreement. Second agreement is don't take anything personally. Easier said than done. And it's recognizing that what anybody else says or does is not because of you. Nothing others that say or do is because of you. That's because it's their own drama. It's their drama that they're saying what they're saying or doing what they're doing. I love this. I learned this from one of the very successful businesswomen a long time ago. She said, what anyone else thinks or says about me, quite frankly, is none of my business. I love that. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. You know what happens when you assume, right? Okay, so don't go there. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. That's called communication. Communication is getting on the same page to create a common union. So communicate. Anything can be resolved inside of communication. It takes courage to do that sometimes. The fourth agreement is simply always do your best. So strive for excellence, not for perfection. Always do your best at practicing the first 3 agreements and in everything else in your life, and be happy with doing your best. Be satisfied in doing your best that you're able to do right now. So those are the 4 agreements. When we practice these 4 agreements, it can empower us to actually be happy. Wow. Yes, to be happy. So the reverse of being stressed is being happy. The challenge that we face in striving to be happy is that many people pursue happiness, but really they're not pursuing happiness, they're pursuing pleasure. So when we're in the state of the sympathetic, we do 3 things really well. We seek pleasure, we avoid pain, and we conserve energy. So we want to stay away from seeking pleasure. Seeking pleasure is immediate gratification. It's temporary, has little effort. It fluctuates all the time. It's an avoidance of pain and generally leads to more suffering. And it's, if you notice, it's operating mostly in the limbic brain. But when we pursue happiness, true happiness is delayed gratification. It's sustainable over time and it requires consistency of effort to actually achieve it. And we have to be persistent and may require short-term pain or sacrifice. And it eventually leads to liberation and no suffering. And we see the effects neurologically. So we have to be aware that we get caught in the pleasure trap. As one of my good friends, Dr. Doug Lisle, PhD, wrote the book called The Pleasure Trap. And what we tend to do as human beings is we seek pleasure. So we can be a male shark or a female shark. And what do sharks do when they're swimming around? They're seeking pleasure. All right. Male shark is swimming around thinking sex, food, sex, food, sex, food. Female shark is swimming around thinking food, sex, food, sex, food, sex. And then they get together and they think, oh, we're on the same wavelength. This must be love. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. It's not. It's just hormones. It's just pleasure. It's just pleasure. That's all it is. So happiness is a choice. It's not a result. It's not a result. Nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. No person will make you happy unless you decide to be happy. Your happiness will not come to you from outside of you. It can only come from within, from you. So one of my favorite affirmation statements is, I choose to be happy. Ray Chambers is a phenomenal teacher. He was very successful on Wall Street and was miserable. And then he left, went to India, and then learned about happiness and came back. And now he coaches CEOs. And so I'm going to send you the video of Jeff Weiner, so the CEO at LinkedIn, and what he learned from Ray Chambers from how to actually be happy. So the 5 keys to happiness. Number 1, live in the moment, be present. Number 2, it's better to be loving than to be right. Number 3, be a spectator to your own thoughts, especially when you become emotional. Very powerful. And number 4, be grateful for at least one thing every single day. And then number 5, help others every chance you get. Be of service. Practice these 5, you will be happier, I promise you. We have research on this now that actually substantiates this even more. Sean Achor, who wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage, showed that by practicing 6 practices for happiness, he added one more, that his participants experienced 37% more success, 3 times more creative, 19% more accurate, 23% fewer fatigue symptoms, up to 10 times more engaged, and 31% more productive. Wow. Like, wow. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? I'm going to send you his TED Talk. Hilarious and insightful. So his 6 practices from his book. Number 1, gratitude. There it is again. 2, the doubler, sharing and expanding what you had in one positive experience. 3, the fun 15. This is being physical activity. Number 4, meditation, stillness, that controlled breathing. Number 5, conscious acts of kindness, being of service to others. And number 6, deepening your social connections. Connecting, we need that. We all do. Other practices that I've learned over the years to really be able to live a powerful and happy life. Number 1 is practicing accepting others just the way that they are without attachment. Number 2, apologizing when you have a transgression towards somebody else, to take responsibility for that. Number 3 is forgiveness. Powerful practice towards being happy in your life is forgiveness. And number 4 is being grateful. There it is again. And then number 5, extending that gratitude towards someone else and acknowledging them. Most of us don't do enough acknowledging of others. So you can see the common threads. Consider this. In the wisdom of Lao Tzu from well over 2,000 years ago, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. Love that wisdom. This is one of my favorites. It's the way of Zen. Do one thing at a time. Do things slowly and mindfully. Connect deeply with people and nature. Meditate frequently. Appreciate silence. Expect nothing. Be grateful for everything. Observe without judgment. Consume less, create more. Let go of fears and desires. Listen to understand, not to respond. Be patient and generous. Love deeply. Live simply. So when you get your slides, print this one out, put it on your refrigerator to remind you every day. So we've covered a lot of practices to help you manage your stress today, haven't we? Number one, build resilience and hardiness. So improve your nutrition, exercise, yoga, meditation, breathing, massage, dancing. All of these can help you. Number two, when it comes to relationships, and by the way, I have a whole seminar on creating healthy relationships. Check that out. And I have another one on communication. Excellent. So work to resolve interpersonal stress. Eliminate your upsets. You take responsibility for you. And then practice the communication pentagon. There's a lot more. Number three, conquer internal fears. So practice the 4 agreements. Practice the 5 keys to happiness. Practice the 6 happiness and 5 powerful practices. Practice those. Just keep practicing. Now remember, this is all practice. This is not about perfection. No one's going to be perfect. So this is all about practice and making progress. That's it. That's it. Just take one thing, make it better. Progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. So now the last part, to help you make the rest of your life the best of your life. So question, would you like to make the rest of your life the best of your life? I hope the answer is a resounding yes. So if that's the case, imagine for a moment, what would that look like for you? Would having a great life as you age and get older, would that be a life that's filled with activity and energy and vitality, doing things that you love to do? Would it be dancing with your partner on the beaches of the most beautiful beaches of the world, filled with health and energy, vitality, and fun? Hopefully so. Maybe so. So the question is, where are you now? Are you there yet? Chances are you're not. So if you're not there yet, how will you get from where you are now to where you want to be? Well, it's clear. It's very simple. If you're here at point A and you want to get to point B, you need a plan. You need a plan. So do you have a plan that's actually proven to work? That's the real hard-hitting question. Most of us don't. We don't know. We don't know how to get there. And it's no mystery. You need a plan that's actually proven to work. And it's no mystery in sports. You can't get to the Olympic Games without a coach. Can't get to the Olympic Games without a plan. You can't get to the Olympic Games without a structure for that to be able to happen. So I have a 4-point plan, and I'm living proof because I've done it myself. And I've empowered hundreds of people to do this. So it's a 4-point plan. Number one, we begin from within. We must address and rewire our subconscious mind, change our mindset, our thinking, our attitude, our consciousness, and awareness. We must do that first. Second, we need a proven strategy that's evidence-based. That's what lifestyle medicine provides. And I'm so proud of that. It's just, and it works. Number three, we need to develop consistency in our practices, because what we know is that habits produce results. So we have to develop those habits. And then fourth, we need to surround ourselves with the right people and the right accountability and the right structures that empower us to be sustainable in our transformation, to be able to shift our life. So this is a 4-point plan. It works in health, it works in business, it works in sports, it works in everything. So some of the services I provide, I do lifestyle medicine consultations to help people get a plan, to get started. All of my one-on-one clients get started with this. We do this first. All right. In addition, I also have group coaching programs. So I have a group coaching program. I have 2 programs coming up. One that's completely online starting July 13th, and the other one's going to be with the intensive in person in Sacramento starting on July 15th. So the online program, How to Fully Live, it's an immersion program. intensive programs are July 13th, 14th, and the 20th and 21st. So we have 4 days where we go through everything in my book. And then we have 12 weeks of group online coaching via Zoom. It's a phenomenal program. People make incredible transformational changes. And then the in-person program is July 15th, 16th, and 20th, and 22nd, and 23rd, also followed by 12 weeks of online group coaching via Zoom. So one of my graduates, Donna Weifert, very proud of her, a nurse who had actually been on a plant-based diet for about 9 years, came into the program. And she said, Ruben, I've lost some weight, but I still have issues. I've got some excess weight. I've got hypertension. I've got arrhythmia. And I've got pain in my knees. I can hardly walk. And I said, come into the program. We'll address these issues and we'll make the changes in all the areas of your lifestyle. So she did terrific. 2019, 60 pounds lighter. In January 2020, 70 pounds lighter. And then COVID started, right? So COVID started. What did she do? She kept on going. She built a support network around her and she walked every day, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 miles a day. It was amazing. And she would post this on Facebook. It was extraordinary. And then on Thanksgiving Day in 2021, at the age of 69, now remember, she could hardly walk. She went a 10K in an hour and 41 minutes. Extraordinary. And then 2 weeks later, she went ahead and completed the California International Marathon in Sacramento, walking from Folsom all the way to downtown Sacramento. It was extraordinary at the age of 69. In addition, I also conduct lifestyle and performance medicine immersion programs in the workplace, transforming the energy of organizations. And here's all my contact information. So you're going to get this slide. That's my phone number and everything else. And then I want to leave you with this quote, that life is not a journey to the grave with the intention to arrive safely and pretty and in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. So I hope you're willing to go out like me, because that's how I'm going out. All right, so I'll stop the sharing here and I will entertain any questions that any of you have. So if you want to unmute yourself, please feel free to do so. Questions, anything at all. Anything. Whoop, what did I do? Oh, there I am. Okay, good. Okay, questions, anybody? Come on now. Rochelle, good to see you. Donna, good to see you. Suzanne, good to see you. George, good to see you. Jim, Linda, good to see you. All right, so any questions about anything? Anything. I know, so Christina said, gotta run. Thank you. Okay, anything at all? Any questions? Anything? Come on now. You got me. I'm here. Okay. All right, so if there are no questions, I'll say thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share this information with you. Now I have a request. So I am passionate about eliminating chronic disease from the face of the planet. I am passionate about that. And to be able to do that, I have to empower every single person to live a thriving, healthy, happy life. I can't do it by myself. I can't. So I need your help. So I need a show of hands. Who is willing to help me to change the planet, to empower every single person to live a thriving, healthy life by being able to share this information? Raise your hand if you're willing to share this with somebody that you know, somebody in your circle, somebody who might benefit from just getting this information that I share with you today. All right. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you all. And if there's anything I can do to serve you and benefit you in any way, shape, or form, please let me know. I'm here to be of service to all of you. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thanks, Ruben.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.